Try that again. Welcome to the Pittsford Board of Education meeting, and if you would, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If I could get a motion for approval of the agenda. Second? Second. Thank you, Renee. Any edits? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Invite Mr. Biondi up for a principal's report.
Thank you. Happy New Year, everyone, and thanks for the invitation. I think this is my 16th presentation. So, yeah, I hope so. Well, I hope I get stick to the script, but I'm really, really happy to be here. School has been amazing this year. We're back to what at least appears to be normal. Kids are happy. Kids are coming to school every day and learning, and so really very excited about this school year. This year at Allen Creek, we have two kind of continued goals that we're focused on, and that is building an inclusive school community and opportunities for student voice and choice. And we're continuing these goals with intention and practice. Intention and practice. As we know, student voice builds community, and it takes us all to work together to ensure a culture of welcoming environment and high quality learning for all students. We are giving kids this year ways that we're building community, and one way to certainly build community is voice and choice. Some of the things that we are also putting in place or continuing to put in place and focus on with intention is common language, embedding our socially emotional learning with academics. We're continuing to build our libraries, our school library, our classroom libraries with diverse literature for kids to really see themselves, see others in everyday situations. We're also focused on visible learning, giving kids opportunities to show what they know through written expression, through art, through music, trying to learn, music expression of different perspectives, through choice, through interest, through their passion, and through ambition. We're also every day and throughout the year focused on and continuing to engage in classroom meetings and restorative stir circles. And then also opportunities again for leadership roles, our student council, our safety patrol, our buddies programs, which we're so happy that are back and is so impactful. I'll talk a little more about that as we move on. And just focus groups. I often bring students together if we need to make a decision about the school moving forward, to kind of talk about that and how they feel and how they could kind of be a part of that. So lots that we've been working on this year. In terms of common language, one of the examples that I have here to show you, at Allen Creek we have always, for the last 16 years, had what we have called classroom compacts. And basically it's an agreement. You could call it classroom rules or classroom promises, but we called it a classroom compact. And together, students and teachers agree on certain behaviors to ensure a safe, respectful, and kind environment. Now, when I say safe, respectful, and kind, we have added that this year, and you'll see up on I have an example of our bus compact and our recess playground compact. I have to thank really student services and the social emotional coordinator at the beginning of the year. They did a great job giving our staff a whole presentation of DASA the new code of conduct, social emotional learning, and they gave us some of this kind of common language. And so at Allen Creek, we took that, we are safe, we are respectful, we are kind when we, and then we developed our own compacts. Now, we have them in every classroom. We have them in the cafeteria. We have them for recess. We have them on the bus. So we are all using that common language. We all have ownership. And it also brings everyone together and makes everyone feel valued, from the bus drivers to the lunch monitors, all those kind of people that come and do so much and supervise our kids. They're able to kind of really look at this, and together that's what's moving us forward and building trust and community and an environment where it is inclusive and respectful and kind and safe. So that's a couple examples of our compacts that kids have also been a part of putting these together. And we, throughout the year, review them. I'm very often in the cafeteria, and I'll just stop for a minute, and I'll just kind of go to the compact and just kind of remind us what we're doing, and I'll certainly, they certainly know, they know what they are, and they do a little reflection on, well, how am I doing, right? How am I doing? How are you doing on eating politely? How are you doing on keeping your hands and feet to yourself? How are you doing with, listening and following directions? And they do a really good job, and there's the practice piece, and it works. So our compacts have been really, really very impactful, and now that we've added that common language that we are safe, respectful, and kind, that's really also been very, very helpful. This is something that you've seen before, and I really share it every year because we're continuing to grow our diverse literature. We have so much great diverse literature that we, first of all, get new every year, books that we buy for every classroom, and also books that we use over and over that are so great. It's and they're really up here. Teach Me Your Name. We put such a value on students' names, and so important to be able to say someone's name correctly. And instead of, always fumbling. And it could be hard because we have so many diverse students from so many places around the world in our school, which we're so proud of. But that could be a little challenging for us as adults and for kids. So we put it out there. We celebrate your name and teach us your name. Teach us your name. Tell us about your name. And we even go beyond that, and classrooms are asking kids, where is their name from? And it starts to bring up who they are, where they're from, what they believe in, what they value. And again, that's kind of growing that inclusive culture at the same time. So our literature has been really, really great to build community and give kids voice and choice, and also to make kids feel accepted, understanding others' perspectives, empathy, all those things that happen every day, all day. The other area in terms of giving kids opportunity for voice and choice is we really have focused in on our writing instruction. And we have given kids opportunities to opinion write based on interest, talking about what's important to them, writing about their traditions and their values and their family, and what they believe in, to be able to share that. Also, ELA and science, kind of combining core subjects. There's the one, if you could see it up there in the lower corner, is really third grade, learning about wolves and how they fit in the ecosystem. And that's an example of visible learning and showing what they know through drawing and writing, and it really and combining ELA and science. So it really is very telling in terms of what they know, and you could see learning. You could see learning kind of just all over the building. Writing also by interest. On the top, you'll see kids who have been writing about things from ancient Egypt to a favorite animal, to a favorite vacation spot, and writing all about it. And because it's personal, because they're passionate about it, they really do their best, and they really show what they know. So we've been really proud and excited about this voice and choice through writing and through more visible learning and giving kids an opportunity to kind of show what they know. You can look around, even our artwork, kids showing what they know through and expressing themselves through art and through music. So many times I hear throughout the day kids singing and learning music through so many different, just diverse ways. And it's the extraordinary moments are when you see the kids who may struggle to write, may struggle to read, but you'll see them in music, and they're beautiful singers, and they're expressive, and they're in their element, and they're really showing us what they know. So really proud of that so far, where we are, and excited about where we're going for the second half of the year. And then the last thing that we're doing here that I wanted to share, which has really been great, and that is giving kids a chance to reflect. This is just an example of a question that's been asked either to staff or to students. What is one thing you learned about yourself this term or this half of the year? And these are actual answers from kids that between the teacher and the student, but then as a class they kind of look at common themes and they'll talk about it as a class, but it's so telling what they have written. So for example, I have social anxiety. I need to be a bit more neat. I'm doing really well in math. I work better in partnership than in a big group, but get more done alone. I'm smarter than I thought. I really like helping others. I don't trust myself, and I need to be confident to raise my hand. So it's so telling to me that these kids can feel so safe and so trusting that they can share this with their teacher. And the teacher has an opportunity to really give kids what they need and to really get to know that student. And that, again, is building a culture, an inclusive culture that enhances learning and gives every kid, every student a chance to learn at high levels. So this has been a really great activity. As a staff, we had a great opportunity this year to align our goals in the classroom and in the school with our own professional learning. On Superintendent's Conference Day, we did a couple of things. We did some breakout sessions, and we did some restorative or circles, community circles, and then we did some professional learning and writing instruction, and both led by teachers, our lead teachers with the training, or teachers who have a real passion for writing and who are really great at writing. And it was so amazing to watch the staff really feel safe enough in a group to share, to listen to a colleague, share what has worked for them, being able to, share what is it that I'm really struggling with, what I need more help with. It was just a great opportunity. So in the circle, that was so powerful because the feedback was very emotional. And at Allen Creek right now, we have pretty much most of our staff has been there for a while. So everyone knows each other. We do have some new folks. So for the new folks, they were just kind of blown away because they didn't realize how much they didn't know about others. And they had a chance to learn about the staff and know a little more about the staff. And even our seasoned staff felt so great because they were able to be vulnerable, and they were able to walk away and say things like, you know, Mike, now when I walk down the hall and I see one of my colleagues, there's another level of community and connection with them because I realized, you know, we're going through the same thing. So I didn't have to put my own wall up. And so it was just really very, very touching. And even for me to see some of the staff that, you know, might be a little more reserved, to see them in that circle and to share so much. And it all came down to family, really. It all came down to their really sharing things in their personal lives, not really in the classroom, in their personal lives. And in what they're you know, what they're bringing or what they're leaving, you know, when they leave home and come to school. And I think it just made, it was such a moment of support, and it gave them a chance to really become and feel emotionally safe so they can be a better teacher for their students. So that was a great day. Then we moved into a breakout session in writing instruction, and we have some great teachers of writing in our school that the staff really respects. And we focused on a few things there. So we focused on, you know, what is student voice and choice, helping students find their voice, helping how student voice can drive the writing workshop, helping students find the purpose, the why. Helps it a teacher. This was also teacher-led, teacher staff-led, and colleagues were learning from each other. Again, just a moment where colleagues were feeling very safe to share what they need help with their colleagues, and it was a great job-embedded professional learning. You know, we've said that for so many years that that's the best learning, job-embedded learning, right? And it was happening. It was happening, and I was so proud to see that. And I got a lot of feedback from those teachers that I see every day, that I know every day. They know each other, but there was another level there of them feeling really good about going back into the classroom and you know, either trying something new or doing something different, or just kind of understanding themselves and what kind of they need to maybe change for the better. So it was a really powerful day and a great day, and aligned with our school goals. It was the work that we needed to do, and we were able to do that, and so we so appreciate that we had that opportunity. So thank you for that. The other, this is probably the most exciting for me, because we're finally back, like I said, to normal. But we have always had buddies, a buddies program in our school where we're connecting grade levels with younger grade levels, partnering them up, and they work throughout the year. They work with each other in many different ways. They could come into the class and be doing an activity together, a writing activity, some kind of academic activity. They could also be just doing some time just kind of coming together and playing a game. They're sometimes having lunch together. Again, a way to build community and to watch those little ones look up to those older ones, and those older ones who, some of them you would not first think that they would be an excellent leader and role model. But when they're out of their element and out of their, you know, maybe their fifth grade class, and they're down working with a second grader, it's an extraordinary moment. And this, I will say, because I've also talked to my staff about, for years we've said, look, as we're building community, as we're working on our goals towards something, we're going to have every day ordinary moments. But then there's going to be extraordinary moments. And I would say our buddies, so let me just say, we have our buddies, but we also this year started a Best Buddy program. And one of our teachers is leading that, and that's been very popular, and it's done during the day. And we have fifth grade leaders who are working with, this year, third and fourth grade kids, and they're partnered up, and they come together, and they do various activities too. But there are so many extraordinary moments with buddies. I see it every day. I see it every day in the morning. The kids get off the bus, and I watch it happen. I watch a story being created, because every day I'm out there. And when school starts, kids get off the bus, and they're all walking off the bus, and they're looking for the teacher or the principal, and just to try to get to the school. And as this has occurred throughout the year, every day now they get off the bus and they stop, and they're waiting for their friend, and they're so excited to see their friend. It's like a reunion every morning. It's like a reunion, like they saw each other the day before. It's like a reunion, and they see each other. And then I hear buddies getting off the bus, and they're with their younger buddy. Hey, have a great day. I'll see you this afternoon. Thanks, see ya. And sometimes they're off with their classmate, or sometimes they're taking them right to their classroom, whatever they may need. Those are extraordinary moments. Kids, they also kind of sometimes work in the classroom throughout the day. They may be a morning greeter in their classroom, or they may work with them to go and either listen to them to read or to read to them. And we have some reluctant kids. There's a lot of school anxiety or separation anxiety. And just this week, we have a couple of kids who are having a little trouble kind of getting into the classroom and starting their day. And since we put a buddy with them, extraordinary moments. The child is animated, sees them. When he leaves, he says, "Oh, I'll see you later. I'll be back at 1 o'clock. Okay." And just extraordinary, extraordinary moments. And we talk about, what's the evidence of learning? What's the evidence? And there it is. It's every day, and I get to see it, and it's amazing. The other thing we're excited about this year at the end of this month is Rock to Change is going to come over and read a story to our students. I think it might have happened already in some of the other buildings where we chose Be a Bridge. It's a picture book about kind of bringing relationships together and kids together, teaches empathy and support, and being an uplifter and all those things. And so they're going to come over and they're going to read to our kids a great K-12 connection. So we're really excited about that. So really, this has been the best thing this year in terms of being able to collect data and evidence of our goals. Really, so many extraordinary moments here, and to be able to witness it every day is I feel really lucky. So really with that, I would say up to this point, we've built a really great foundation of trust, community, building relationships, all those things. And so I'm excited to keep building on that for the rest of the year. And I keep telling my staff that if students and you feel emotionally safe, then high levels of teaching and learning can occur. So with that, I will say, ask if you have any questions. I know that I was excited about the extraordinary moments. I wish you could all have been there, but anyway, any questions? I'm happy to answer or share any more information you'd like.
Anybody have any questions? I just want to say thank you. Appreciate your enthusiasm rings true throughout your presentation, and we appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. And the artwork is beautiful.
Oh, you like the artwork?
It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
They did a good job. Yeah, they did a good job.
With that, I'll take a motion on the approval of the minutes. Thanks, Emily. Thanks, Jeff. And any edits? All in favor? Any opposed? Great. Thank you. Board of Education reports. All the Monroe County School Board Association meeting dates are on here. Anybody, any reports out for any past meetings? Okay. Dates to remember. On 1/16, the schools will be closed for Martin Luther King Day. On 1/17, we have a special meeting to talk about capital project. Community is invited for that. It'll be right here at 7 p.m. On the 19th, we have a board visit to district offices. Show of hands, anybody, everybody that will be there? Okay. And on the February 2nd, we have a board tour at Thornell. Show of hands, people will be there? Perfect, thank you. And on February 7th is our next regularly scheduled meeting. And with that, we'll move on to Mr. Vespi and the financial report.
All right, for your consideration tonight is the treasurer's report. The only items to note on the revenue side is we continue to exceed expectations in terms of interest earnings, and the revenues associated with county sales tax continues to be larger. So those are the significant items on the revenue side. A little concerned with energy costs in looking into the cooperative bidding that we have on the expense side. But other than that, nothing else to report.
Can I get a motion on the financial report? Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Dave. And any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you.
All right, the next item for your consideration is a budget transfer request with contract transportation. This goes hand in hand with our goal to provide more contract transportation opportunities, which is eligible for state aid, to reduce and mitigate, the cancellations that we experience. So we were able to secure some additional assistance from our contract transportation company. And that does cover agenda items 2 and 3.
Okay. Can I get a motion on the budget transfer request and the transportation services contract? Thank you, Robin. Second. Thank you, Renee. All those in, any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. Both of them. Go ahead.
Okay, and for your consideration, a budget transfer request that exceeds the required amount, and this continues to support the district's endeavor on a one-to-one device program, and we'll continue to utilize both the combination of general fund and federal funds to accomplish that goal.
May I please get a motion on the budget transfer request for the one-to-one device program? Dave, thank you. Emily, thanks. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. And we'll move on to Mr. Clark in the Human Resource Report.
Good evening. First for your consideration is the professional staff report. We have one change in status from probationary to tenure, 2 administrator appointments, 1 administrator leave of absence, 1 certificated staff appointment, 1 regular substitute extension, and 4 school-related professional appointments.
Can a motion on the professional staff report, please? Thank you. And any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries.
And while we're here, we have Andrea Lynch, who is the assistant principal at Mendon High School. We want to give her a wave. Congratulations, you were just approved.
Welcome.
Mendon High School students, I see some Mendon High School students over there. This is your new assistant principal. Welcome.
Congratulations. And moving on to the support staff report.
Next for your consideration is the support staff report. We have 1 school aide appointment, 1 clerical resignation, 1 school aide termination, 2 custodial maintenance appointments, 1 food service worker appointment, and 1 food service retirement with 20 years of service.
Can I motion on the support staff report, please? Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Renee. Any discussion on that? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you. And finally, we have for your consideration a new position for Assistant Payroll Supervisor, which will allow us to have an important backup redundancy in the payroll department. And this position will be part of the supervisory technical unit.
Can I get a motion on the Assistant Payroll Supervisor position? Thanks, Robin. Thank you, Sarah. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. And before I jump to the Chief Information Officer, I want to circle back to the financial report. I missed one item. Sorry about that, Mike.
No problem. The professional services contract report is enclosed. It's a semi-annual report that outlines all the contracts that are in the district and the purchasing information. It's a really solid financial practice. I'd encourage you to take a look at it and let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to the Chief Information Officer report and Dr. Kimmer.
Thank you and good evening. Tonight I'm going to be running through our annual enrollment projections for the board and for the community. Lots of data backs this up. You have that in your packet, over 100 pages I think. I apologize for all that, but we take pride in our work and we do a lot of counting and a lot of double counting and triple counting. And the community will see this same presentation, and those watching on the stream will mount this to the website tomorrow, first thing. We like to think that these enrollment projections are used for sectioning. We're going to start in January and February. We start down the road of thinking about classes already for next year, and I'm sure our assistant superintendent for HR is thinking about hiring for next year already, and our business official thinking about budget and certainly transportation. So hopefully we all will use this data and the accuracy of the data to do some planning, and hopefully this presentation kicks that off. So what we like to do traditionally is start a year-to-year comparison, looking back to last year. And when I say last year, it's not a moving target. We use the first week of October to do that year-to-year comparison. And I've highlighted here the number 9. We've stayed relatively flat when you look at holistically the numbers of around 5,500 students. We grew a little bit, but we were relatively flat across the board, losing a tiny bit of students at the secondary level, but there's always ebb and flows as families move in and out over the course of the year. In terms of the elementary school from last year, again, this is a year-to-year, October to October comparison. We are looking at approximately less than 1% change, and we took on 18 students from our elementary schools, losing some here, gaining some there, but all in 18 students. I like to show this as a line graph for those that are visual learners. It normalizes and it usually stays flat, knowing that there are troughs and crests as different cohorts have different sizes. But I did add a trend line this year. Since we implemented full day K, we are on an upward trend with our K program, taking on more students possibly from private schools and or more than ever students moving in with their families from other parts of the county. And I'm going to get into some of that county data before I finish. Then we look at the secondary enrollment change, percent increase or decrease, a little more in and out here. The numbers do settle at the end of the day, but we did take on 32 new students at Barker Road, lost 16 at Calkins, lost 49 at Mendon High, again it ebbs and flows, and we took on 22 students for a delta of losing 27 students October to October. We could have picked them up already, for all I know. I just haven't checked the numbers this afternoon, but not much change, I would summarize it by saying, even though there's some red and blue there representing the positive and negative numbers. And I say that with confidence because if you look at the trend lines over time for grades 6 and 8, you see that it's relatively flat with very small crests and troughs. It does normalize as time goes on. And the same thing can be said about grades 9 through 12. Looking back to 2013, you see a relatively flat structure over time. So predictions. Wish we had a crystal ball, but we don't. We have inherited some great formulas and great practices from great mathematicians before me who were student services director and consultants, and I have the privilege of picking up that work and running with it. And I've highlighted here that from last year, if you were to pull my transfer, this presentation up from this presentation last year at the board, we were almost 100% accurate, 99.86 if you want to be specific, looking back at last January's presentation. And please check my work on that. And that's not me, it's a group effort. We have great collaboration with student services and our census office, with our registrar. We do a lot of counting. We do a lot of double and triple counting, as I started my presentation with. And over time and over the course of the year, we're always double checking this work, and it lends itself to great reliability. I wanted to prove that reliability this year with a new slide. You will not see this slide in last year's presentation or previous presentations, but we wanted to start looking at how accurate are we by cohort or by grade year. And those numbers stay pretty true across the different cohorts. I did highlight the grade K number because we did take on 18 more students than expected. We think those are the students that parents elected to hold back during COVID. But nevertheless, a slight increase than what we were expecting, thus causing a little bit of a percent accuracy change. And here I wanted to go building by building to check our work, just to make sure those big numbers, we weren't overinflating or hyping our accuracy. And when you look over time, building by building, a year ago, we were pretty darn close, with Barker being the exception. They took on 37 extra students than expected. And I'm going to talk at the end of my presentation about home growth and new construction, and we think that's what had something to do with this number, and I'll show you exactly where. When we do these comparisons, not just year to year and do that double counting with our registrar, but we have folks on our team, including Becca Hyatt and Jamie Kogler, who go back and they check trends over time. We look at turnover rates by neighborhood. We do a lot of counting between Thanksgiving and now to make these presentations come true. And this we looked at 5 years ago when I did this presentation. We were about 96% accurate. There was a big number difference. We forecasted almost 5,700 students. We ended up in October with about 5,500 students. We overshot it a bit, so we weren't as accurate over the 5-year term, looking at those turnover rates and looking at birth rates, et cetera. Before me, Judy Leisman did this presentation, and it was just around the time that I was moving from tech director to CIO, so I can't take credit for this, but Judy and her team at the time were about 98% accurate, looking when she predicted this 10 years ago, using those formulas, using those trends, those turnover rates. So pretty good data if you look over the 1-year, 5-year, and 10-year outlooks. We pretty much know where our students are coming from. We know where they land. There are not a lot of surprises in our catchment areas. Once in a while, cohort differences, but pretty predictable, which makes my job pretty easy. I just said that out loud. So with that said, elementary projections, I start looking at 5 years out. We don't go too far because some students are not born yet, so we can't count them. In Nostradamus, we can't be guessing. So no crystal ball in hand. We like to look out 5 years for our elementary school kiddos, and you'll notice I've highlighted 2 areas here, Mendon Center at 593 and Thornell Road at 530, looking out. And that might be concerning or exciting at the same time, but I put a footnote here. We do not look at trend data for houses that weren't built yet or haven't been built yet. So these are the schools, specifically Mendon Center, that we've left room for the new home construction. So you should rest easy knowing that when new families move into the catchment areas that I'm going to show you on a map, those new homes built will feed Mendon Center, Barker Road, and Mendon High School. We have made room for those students. We have planned ahead. Shows our projections over time, once again using line graphs. And then I wanted to accentuate the same thing for our secondary projections. These are low watermarks. When I say 723 for Barker Road and 924 for Mendon High, these are existing neighborhoods, existing homes built. This does not count the 40 to 50 families we could receive in the next 4 or 5 years through new home construction. So my personal prediction is that Mendon High School will probably head up more towards 1,000 kids, whereas Barker will hover around 700, kind of looking at the data from the new builds in the last few years. So those are 2 schools to keep an eye on relative to growth. Secondary projections projected using some line graphs again for the visual learners. And then when you take both the elementary level and the secondary level together, flat over time with a slight increase, certainly depending on the economy and the home growth and the building construction that I spoke of, it could show a little more of an uptrend down the road. The board often asks, and Central often asks, where are our students? You'll see over time the first number on top, the 6137. Those are the possible students that we have to pull from. Our population of students in our catchment areas grows smaller each year. Whether folks are moving out, having smaller families, I'm not exactly certain, but the pool of students we pull upon does shrink over time. The number below that, 5532, that is who we have here based on that October number that I shot off. And then this is the question most people ask is, where are the students going? They're not going to private schools because that number continues to shrink at 605 for the total that you see here. So a little bit of a downward trend in our total population of possible kiddos that could land in our schools. And then what I like to do is accentuate for the group the students that are attending our in-district private schools, including Allendale Columbia, St. Louis, and Trinity Montessori. And I've highlighted here that Allendale Columbia is reported showing a little bit of a downward trend. And as I spoke of earlier, the overall number of students going to private schools in our catchment areas decreasing. In the board packet, you have a whole list of onesies and twosies. I don't list them here because I run out of slide space, but I try to hit the big numbers for you, and these are schools that are outside of our district where our students go to private settings based on parental choice. And here I've highlighted for you that our homeschoolers are once again decreasing around the downslope, thinking that the pandemic is over, if not shortly going to be over, and kiddos coming back to us from homeschool situations or going to private schools. So you put all those projections together, short of the new home construction, and you go from where the arrow is, 2022, which would be October, to 2032, and we are projecting an upward trend based on existing homes, existing neighborhoods, heading up towards 5,700 if you then take in the home construction into sight. So I do believe it'll grow and show a gradual growth over time. We did this year. This is something different for the board and for the community. We broke it out by grade level too. And I highlighted the 338 number because, again, students are not born yet, so we can't count them or can't go to the county looking at birth rates for them. So we lock in a number of 338, which is the trend number. I would caution the central office team and board to watch that number because of the move-in trends. That number might be low, and I might even say that the cohorts moving forward for grade K might be 350 or higher. So that's just something I'm not going to make up, but I would have everyone who pays attention to budget, hiring, staffing, and all of that, just keep an eye on our kindergarten enrollment because it seems to be more popular than ever. And to that end, we're seeing a little downward trend with birth rates across the county. Now, this is always a year or 2 or 3 years old. It's whenever the county hands us the data. So birth rates are down holistically across the county. But interestingly enough, the children here, either we're having bigger families, which I don't think is the case, or families are moving to us, which I think anecdotally is the case. Families will start in other towns, other villages, and then move to Pittsford, and it shows here the percentage of eligible kindergartners for us a little bit higher, and it continues to grow, especially since 2018. Folks often ask, how do we compare to other schools in our growth? It's kind of hard to see depending on where you're sitting. Relatively flat. I know Penfield showing a little bit of an upward trend, but where the arrow is, we're relatively flat as well. And I don't see any school district around us shrinking vastly. It's pretty solid, pretty safe since 2019. No mass exodus, but ebbs and flows here and there. I like to talk about race and ethnicity as well. People often ask, how does the face of the organization look? Who are our students? Who are our families? What do they look like? So over the last 10 years, since 2012, we were 83% white as an example, and now we've landed closer to 70%. We are definitely changing, becoming more diverse as a community, as the statistics would show. I like to show the raw numbers for those of you that like to count. And for the smaller groups, we like to show where the growth is either going up or staying flat. And I would say your Asian population and your multiracial populations are the groups that are growing over time. This is a new slide also. I went into the Wayback Machine. Maybe next year I'll do the 90s. But if you look back to 2003, when we were 91% white, we are now 70% white. Very different, much more diverse. This is also data that you can get. This is public-facing data, data.gov. It's like data.newyorkstate.gov. They're always a year behind, so I like to include this for the community on our website so that it's they have at least 3-month-old data instead of a year-old data. And you would find the same thing on the data.gov site for New York State Education Department relative to doing other district comparisons for race and ethnicity. You see that we land in the middle of the pack. I have the privilege of working with our Regional Information Center. They hand this to me a little bit early before it goes up to the state site. So this data is probably a month old and it's very accurate. And you can see where we landed here relative to either East Irondequoit or Honey Eye Falls and the continuum in between. So I spoke a few times about new home construction. Let's dig into that a little bit. No pun intended, or maybe the pun is intended, I don't know. But, so the map as of, that you're seeing here is as of November 17th, and the town analyst is highly collaborative. Michelle Dubai reaches out to us and vice versa, and we're constantly trading notes on catchment areas, maps, new home growth, new construction, building permits, and we have that ebb and flow back and forth conversation to create what's going to be shown here today. Probably hard to see, but if you have a computer or if you're near a screen, we're sort of in the middle of the lower part of the catchment area where it says you are here, and you see a lot of shaded properties. Those are properties predominantly that do not have roads cut in yet or houses built that in the next 10 years could, but not yet. And then I've highlighted with some circles, if you will, using maroon ink, some of the neighborhoods that are close to completion or at least have houses built to start. And digging into the details for real, then you look at the subdivision names, the actual streets, how many have been built to date, how many are under construction, and this, like I said, this data is about a month or two old, and how many could be built still. And I circled here, we have the potential in the next 3 to 5 years to take on another 53 families just with the southern catchment areas, which ultimately feed Mendon High School. So Mendon High School, again, not knowing exactly how many kids they're going to have because of the unknown of who's going to buy the homes, have the strongest potential for growth right now. And we did the way back or the look back. So the homes that were built in the neighborhoods that I just showed you, we wanted to do a tally. You know, who has moved into the homes that are built 2, 3 years old, maybe 4 years old. And you see across the board that quite a few moved in and went to Mendon Center because that's the tracking of the subdivisions. Then there was a little bit of an uptick with new families that went to Barker and then Mendon High School for a total of new kids, new families, new construction of 178 over the last 4 or 5 years. I don't think you'll see that kind of growth over the next 5, but you definitely will see a triple-digit number based on the home construction that's predicted. Mr. Vespi and I visited the area on the top of the screen. There was a little bit of a rumor that we're building 60 homes in Penfield Farms. Not true. They are building module homes in that top arrow where it's pointed, but only 6 to 8 affect us because of where the boundary stops, and that's why it's so skinny up there. So if you're hearing that we're building 60 homes near Linden, not true. They are building them, but they're not in our catchment area. And then I'm often asked by the board, what's going on with Kilbourne if you drive down East Street, or East Ave, excuse me, and that is still very much, as the town tells me, townhomes or houses designed for retirees, not large structures built for families. That is the audience that they are seeking right now. So we do not predict any major growth in the north catchment area of Allen Creek, Calkins Road, Sutherland. Wanted to show you in a look back, thanks to the work that the attendance boundary committee did, not just me, but it's the work that we did together with you. And it shows you where we started, Mendon Center at almost 800 kids. Some of you are probably going to grimace when I say that, but almost 800 kids at Mendon Center. And then we had at Allen Creek only 317, and we did the boundary shifting, and we normalized in the year 2022 to balance our schools. And as I spoke of earlier, Mendon Center projected to be at 593 as the low tide. It will be higher than that once those homes are built in the construction areas that I showed. I'm just going to whisk over this. And I show these slides because you can't predict every year that grade K 1 or 2 are going to have the exact same number of kids. But these slides are meant to show that there are always cohort size differences and that we just need to be mindful of them. So here is the K-5 trend, the 6 through 8 trend by year, and then the 9 through 12 trend. So not vast differences, but nevertheless differences that we need to be mindful of when we're thinking about the various things that we need to plan for during budget season. So in summary, we have taken on quite a bit more of kindergartners. There's been a 37% increase in eligible kindergartners in our area over the last 5 years or so. And our population, as you saw the statistics, definitely are becoming more diverse, and that trend is continuing. And we all need to be mindful that the Mendon Center catchment area and Barker Road and Mendon High will grow. There will be a gradual increase overall, and we hang our hat on the 98% accuracy over 10 years and the 96 over 5 years. We pretty much know that this is going to happen, and we usually are not shocked, plus or minus a couple of dozen students. So with that, I leave you with any questions that you might have of me or for my team that helped put this together.
Any questions for the doctor? I am amazed every year when I see those percentages of the accuracy, and congratulate your entire team that puts this information together. It certainly helps in the planning on an annual basis as we go forward. So thank you very much.
You're welcome, Mr. Rusty. Anyone else? No, good. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the superintendent's report. Mr. Pirro.
Special ed.
Oh, if I held the paper right, I'd see it. My apologies. Special education report, Ms. Woods.
Good evening. CSE and CPSE recommendations are on the consent agenda.
Outstanding. Thank you very much. And now we will move on to the superintendent's report. Mr. Pirro.
Thank you. There is a need for an executive session this evening to discuss collective negotiations as well as the employment of a particular person.
May I please have a motion for an executive session? Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Renee. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries.
I thought I would just take a minute to highlight some of the work of Mike Vesby and Nancy Wayman and Sean Clark and Elizabeth Carpenter and a lot of the folks of the transportation department. We've gone several days without any kind of cancellations. We're on a pretty good streak right now. If you recall, our bus drivers were in high demand. We had shortages like we've never seen before. We have hired 4 drivers and a mechanic. We've just finished training 2 CDL certified folks, and we have 3 personnel that we are currently training, and we're also interviewing 1 or 2 candidates coming up to be bus drivers. We do have a full on blitz relative to recruitment. We did have a recruitment fair. We are now transitioning to news and talk show or radio. So we will be on WHAM 1180 and 95.1 through from January 23rd to February 3rd, highlighting how amazing it is to be a bus driver. Anyone have interest in that, please please stay after. You're hired. We also have on February 4th a Ride a Bus campaign from 9 to 12 at the Transportation Department. We will have mechanics there. We will have drivers there. We will have trainers there to show people everything about being a bus driver, the mechanics to it, and invite them to actually go on a little bus tour with us. Post-February break, we will be honoring our bus drivers. We are going to be including our students and our staff in writing some very kind messages of gratitude towards all of the work that they're doing. And also of note, you'll see buses in the Pittsford Plaza and in the Basin. We've approval for both to have our advertisement banners on the buses. So we're certainly heading in the right direction, and want to thank all of those that are responsible for getting us into a much better place with our transportation folks. So thank you.
Okay, may I please get a motion for the consent agenda? Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Jeff. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Anybody have any old business? Anybody have any new business? With that, we'll move to public comment, and I've just mentioned that the purpose of this agenda item is for the board to receive respectful and constructive feedback, opinions, and information from district residents. I also want to mention that comments are taken under advisement by the Board of Education and the Superintendent of Schools. Respect and civility are required during these meetings, particularly as we do tonight, many students attending and also watching online. With that, I first would recognize Jeffrey Golombiowski. I apologize, and if I said that wrong. Golombiowski, okay. Thank you. And if you would just state your address for the record.
Sure. Jeff Golombiewski, 3 Nature View.
Thank you.
Okay.
You may proceed.
Okay, perfect. So in December over the holidays, I was looking at the capital project, And I did notice that certain things are happening with pools. And so I just wanted to bring it up as a concern regarding the stewardship of the board and aquatic facilities here in Pittsford. So I thought I would just share a brief story of my family. And I know some people here. So my son, Lucas, so when we moved here 16 years ago, he was not even 1, and he needed special needs. So the school helped with intervention. We got him involved with special education. The town and I guess county helped provide special needs for speech education, occupational therapy. They enrolled him in a county pre-K. And so that really helped him grow here as a student. And then they recommended some swimming because, again, he had sensory needs. So when he was 5, we wanted to get him involved in swimming courses. We tried a group swim, which was a complete disaster, as you can imagine, with a kid with ADHD. So through the town rec, they actually offered individual classes. So you could have a one-on-one with a instructor. So we tried to register, and it was all full. So we were like, crap. Well, sorry. What's going on? So the next season, we had to go in and do the enrollment. So I sat up there at midnight to enroll him in these one-on-one classes. And luckily, I got him in a few, but it was sold out within like 5 or 10 minutes. So it was great for him to go through those learning swimming courses at the town. It was here at Barker, and he did that for 2 years. As of this past weekend, he's now ranked 4th in the state for Pittsford in his 50 free. So he is now in 11th grade. So he's doing very well based on the foundation of the aquatic programs and facilities that Pittsford has provided. And it is alarming for me as a resident to see that when we moved here 16 years ago, we had 4 pools. As of this new plan, we're going to have half that. We're going to have 2 pools. And my son does swim at Mendon often, as you can imagine. And, you know, there is high concern by every swimmer there of the longevity of that pool. And I don't see any plans for actually improving the aquatic facilities here in Pittsford, only removing these facilities. So it does concern me, and I just wanted to bring that up to say, like, I always think of leave somewhere better than I started, and right now, if we were to move here, he would not be able to do what he's doing today because it's less than today. Thank you.
That's a heck of a story. Thank you for sharing that. So I would probably echo a lot of your sentiments that you just shared. Our biggest challenge right now as we look at our pools is, if I were to take Barker Road, for example, it's our original. There's no such thing anymore as getting parts for that pool or repairing the pool or improving the pool. So we looked at, I think, 15 different options for this project, 12 to 15 feasible areas to improve the aquatic facility. The bare bones replacement of a Barker Road pool, for example, was $30 million, and then without any kind of aid back on it. So that was our immediate block, was the sticker price of looking at Barker Road. We looked at trying to get creative, enhancing places at Calkins Road, what it would take to enhance Mendon High School. Then we looked at what maybe the community would support relative to a capital project during a time of recession or recession-like environment. We looked at what a long-term plan relative to facilities would look like from the onset of a vote this spring to within the next 10 years. We've had our feasibility studies for our pools, who uses them, the town, PAC, YMCA, and certainly our school district. How many can we accommodate? What's going to happen to Mendon High School in 6 to 7 years from now? What work needs to be done there? So there's not a lot of love in the pools during this project, but we also recognize that having 2 high-quality pools, we could probably accommodate everyone's needs. So we shift our thinking to what do we need to do in order to make that happen, knowing that right now a $30 million sticker price probably wouldn't fly. But in 5 years, when it's time to move on with the rotating the next capital project, we're going to need some improvement in our other original facilities. So it's not something that's been neglected. It's something we've spent actually the majority of our time trying to process and discuss, and this is where we've landed for this smaller type of capital project this year. But thank you for your concern.
Next, we recognize Dale Rykoff.
Sorry, you have to lower expectations for me.
If you would state your address for the record.
Certainly. Good evening. Dale Rakoff of 10 Lation Drive. I'm the parent of 2 current and 2 former students in Pittsford, and appreciate the opportunity to address you tonight. As a fellow trustee of a SUNY college, I always try to ask, where's my blind spot? And I greatly appreciate the effort that you put into looking out for our children's best interest, but I feel compelled to really point out a profoundly consequential blind spot. Water competency, or swimming, is no longer being taught at any level in the district. And the reason that it's so important is really fourfold. First, according to the CDC, drowning is the leading and second leading cause of death amongst children aged 1 to 4 and 4 to 15 respectively. Columbia University found that children with autism are 160 times more likely to drown than their peers. And of course, drowning is correlated to racial and socioeconomic factors, with minorities and low-income children being at the highest risk. Second is the Academy of Pediatrics found aquatic exercise is instrumental in reducing childhood obesity, and it improves mental health. Third is we happen to be surrounded by bodies of water, and swimming is the second most popular sports activity in the nation. And in Pittsford, strangely, we have no other public pools. And finally, the reason it's personal is that my wife and I almost experienced the drowning deaths of 2 of our children. So how is the district equipping our children for this life-saving skill? The short answer is they're not. It's not to be found in the curriculum for elementary or high school. Strangely, it is in the PE curriculum for middle school, but when I asked my daughter, who's been at Calkins Road for the past 3 years, she's never stepped foot in the pool. If the reason is removing access because not every student has a pool in their building, then you're using very poor logic that's based off of prior short-sighted underfunding. So there's really 3 responsible courses of action that the parents of Pittsford would ask. First is to resume water competency in the curriculum, at all levels, to teach life-saving skills. The second is not to reduce access to any pools without replacing or providing an alternative. And the third is, given the prior lack of consideration and planning, that the funding of the only public schools in town deserves its own budget reserve line item or an inclusion in the capital improvement plan. So let me leave you with a final thought. Our 2 children who nearly lost their life are now certified lifeguards. My wife and I fully recognized our blind spot, and we passionately worked on fixing that. I ask that you fix yours. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Next, I would recognize Ann Coons.
I'm Ann Coons at 19 Ambergate Rise, and the water is the theme tonight. And I'm here to represent the interests of the athletes who swim for Pittsford schools, as well as the club teams that depend on the use of these pools. My daughter is one of the athletes, and I sit on the board of PAC swim team. We've talked enough about the budget issues, but leaving Pittsford with only 1 pool in good condition causes some problems. The Mendon pool is limping along the way it is, and there is very substantial risk of it becoming non-functional in the not too distant future. the Calkins pool alone is not sufficient for the needs of the school teams. And if that were to become the only site for school swimming, the club teams that rely on the pools here, that being PAC and to some degree the YMCA, will cease to exist. The pool at Calkins is marginally suitable for competition. There's only 6 lanes, you really need 8, and there's nowhere there for warm-ups or warm-downs. There is really no space for the athletes to sit between their events. They can't interact well with their teammates. They can't cheer them on. They can't talk to the coaches. They have to be shuffled into the cafeteria. When my daughter asked why I was coming to the board meeting tonight, and she is currently Pittsford's best varsity girls swimmer, she said if she has to practice at Calkins, she's going to quit because it doesn't work for competition swimming. The club team's fate may not seem like a big concern to Pittsford, but those club teams feed the school teams. The kids start with professional coaching by both Lori McManus and Marty Keating at a young age. My daughter started at 7 and started varsity swimming in 7th grade as a result of her participation in PAC. I think everybody can agree that the Pittsford swimming teams, both boys and girls, have been the most successful varsity teams this district has seen for at least the past 2 decades. If there are not 2 functional pools, PAC is gone and so is the feeder. That's who is really bringing these athletes up to the level that they're at. There are no athletes that swim at states or that score very well at sectionals who do not swim the club team. These are not just kids that come and show up having never swam for the club team. They're being trained from a young age by the same coaches that coach the schools, and that's why they're so successful. If PAC dissolves, that success will go away. The other importance of club teams is that the NCAA, who are looking to give scholarships, isn't watching the schools. These club teams participate in USA Swimming, and the scouts are watching the high-level meets, not the school meets. So there's going to be scholarship opportunities lost for these athletes, and there aren't a huge number, but there's enough. I can think of 5 or 6 in the last few years who have gone on full scholarships Division I as a result of their club swimming. So I hope that there will be 2 functional pools assured at all times for these reasons, and possibly more important, for the reasons that the others have stated. My daughter started Pittsford rec swimming lessons at the age of 5, too. I sat up with Jeff at midnight signing up for those lessons because they were so valuable. It would be nice if they could come back.
Thank you.
If I just could, I hope you know what the partnership we have with PAC and how well we work with PAC and accommodate all of PAC's needs the best we can. So know that we have that history. It's something we want to continue. The other thing, the Mendon pool is not limping along. It's not going to die a death in 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 years. We have our everyone down there, our architects, our construction managers, assessing everything about the Mendon pool. That was my perception too, is that the Mendon pools is close to going, but from all regards, it's not limping along right now. It's doing fine. Otherwise, we would have had to do something relative to reparations for Mendon Pool. I think that the biggest criticism I would have for Mendon Pool right now is the tiling on the floor, but the pool itself is in fine condition. Thank you.
So there's no imminent danger of being that functional?
No, there's not. Thank you for bringing that up, though. I appreciate it.
Okay, we have no further comment, and with that, I would entertain a motion for adjournment. Sarah and Emily, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you and safe travels. Good night.